Atlanta's #1 radio stations, Swanky 93.3 and The Heat 94.6 radio stations, has you covered. From our studios to our newsroom at K.L.P. Entertainment. Listen on all major audio platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audacity, Apple Podcast, Stitcher Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube, and more. The latest show goes after hours. The Beyond Swanky podcast with Kennedy Lucas brings out more for our Lucas Nation fans. Tune in for reviews, topics, and even special guests. We go beyond the swankiness as it's juicy as hell with our DJ Lou Pezzi, playing nothing but the hits on the Spotify podcast version. Live from our studio of Swanky Studios, it's the Beyond Swanky podcast with Kennedy Lucas on Atlanta's #1 stations, Swanky 93.3 and The Heat 94.6 radio station. Listen on all major audio platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audacity, Apple Podcast, Stitcher Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube, and more.
You are now tuned in to Atlanta's hottest radio show.
Our stories from our studio to your ear. It's the Beyond Swanky podcast.
With your host, Kennedy Lucas. On Swanky 93.3 radio station. The Heat 94.6 radio station.
Good morning, Atlanta. Welcome back to another exciting, and we do mean another exciting podcast. This is the Beyond Swanky podcast. Of course, I'm one of your hosts, James Myers. We've got our main host, K.L.P. Kennedy Lucas, and Monica Gray. They're all back into the studio. It's a wonderful Monday, March 20th. And I just wanted to say to you guys, happy Monday. I feel like Monday is a day that I think a lot of people should get a little bit more excited about. But then a lot of people are, ready for the Monday to be over. For some people, Monday starts on a Tuesday, because when we were on my way to the studio from my house, there was no traffic from where I was coming from. So it was very, very interesting for that. Now, again, it's March 20th, and I also feel like this month is just about over. So we're ready for April.
But it feels like damn December and January, James. I don't know. This weather has been very, very interesting in the state of Georgia. Within the cold, the hot, it's been extremely cold, right? So I don't know. It's very, very interesting in my take, but it's just one of those things that it does happen. Now, like James has said, again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of the Beyond Swanky podcast. It's good to see you, James. Monica, what's going on, Monty?
Blessed and highly favored and cold. Kitty, I'm still cold. But we here, we making it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your girl, Monica Gray, back in front of the mic to give y'all another exciting podcast today. And I'm always going to be grateful for our fan base because we up. To quote my girl, Cardi B, it's up. So I'm excited for another exciting podcast. We've got some juicy topics to talk about. This one topic, I cannot wait until we dabble on into it later on this episode. But it's good to be back in the studio. Swanky Studios. We've got Addison, my girl Addison over there. Tyrus is here. DJ Lupizzi is also here. Everybody's here in the studio ready to perform. So I cannot wait.
But it really gets me excited. For the springtime, because as always, I've seen it to my vehicle. My vehicle turns green and I can understand that the pollen season is upon us as well. So I do say to a lot of our fan base out there to stay safe. It's getting cold, and then pollen season is still here. And every time I walk through the grocery store or the office, and a lot of people that work for K.L.P Entertainment, they know my office is squeaky clean. First off, everything is swept. I have Lysol disinfecting spray that I spray all over my office or both my offices, because it is very important to not catch sickness from pollen or it being too cold. And I always keep the house at a nice temperature as well, because let me tell y'all, this happened to me the other day. I'm walking through, and somebody sneezed, and it sounded very, very gross. You know how like you have somebody that have their little cutesy sneeze, right? But when you're going through and you hear a very obnoxious, loud, nasty, snotty sounding sneeze, you tend to want to go the other way. I've done that. I'm walking through, somebody did, again, that gross, loud, intensive, snotty sneeze, and I said, oh no, I'm going this way, right? And I always encourage people, cover your mouth, go wash your hands, disinfect the area, because sickness is real. It's very real out there. So I just got to make sure that I stay nice and healthy and not catch any of this sadness as well. Now, I mentioned, this is kind of a segue, and we have some good things to talk about here on the podcast, but as a actor, director, writer, again, you guys can go check out my IMDb page, because all of that is listed, of course. Couple of days ago, we had received some very sad news. Now, not every day I like to report, and I'm gonna be breaking my rule, guys, because I did say that I won't report on anybody dying or anything like that. That has to be a lie today, because a couple days ago, we have lost a great actor. He's been in a lot of things. I've seen him in a lot, and I do mean this, a lot of films and TV shows. So Lance Reddick, if you guys don't know who Lance Reddick is, his most current role, he starred in John Wick 1, 2, and 3, if I'm not mistaken. Now, he was also in The Wire as well. A lot of people know him from The Wire, the show The Wire. I knew him from the John Wick series. Now, Lance Sullivan Reddick is an American actor and musician. He is best known to playing Cedric Daniels in The Wire, and Philip Broyles in Fringe, and Chef Irving in Botched. In film, he was known for starring Karan in John Wick franchise and David Gentry in Angel Has Fallen. This is very, very sad, because he died at the age of 60. I'm not sure the why or better thing is how he died. I'm not sure that's out yet, but let me just give you guys, of course, I mentioned The Wire, I mentioned John Wick. He was also in the animated Resident Evil show series that came out last year. He was also a character in Quantum Break, of course, the video game. He's been in a lot of video games. He was also in the Horizon Zero Dawn video game, and I think he was in Forbidden West as well. So he was, again, Angel Has Fallen, that came out in 2019. He was also in White House Down, Castlevania. He's been in so much stuff. It's very, very sad to see something like this amazing actor to go and to pass on. Very, very sad. A lot of people were very, very sad about it. He also played a character in Destiny 2. I want to say it was the DLC, guys, in Destiny 2. So, again, my condolences goes out to his family for sure, but it is a very, very, I don't know, it was a very sad thing to hear about, because when you see it on the news, and I've seen it on news, and it just kind of, it shook me, right? Because he still had a lot of acting to do, right? He still had a lot of things that he wanted to pull off in like future movies and TV shows. So again, our condolences on behalf of our cast and crew for the show at K.L.P Entertainment. Our condolences goes out to his family, and I'm sure he's resting in paradise right now. It's weird. This thing called life is so weird, because great people die that you never thought would die, and you think, what the hell? Like, him? Her? Really? So again, rest in peace to Lance Reddick. Amazing actor, amazing musician, and I just wanted to say my 2 cents on that, because he was amazing. He was very, very amazing. Now I got to turn the show. I know I started the show with kind of some sad news. I'm sorry, guys. I just wanted to go ahead and get that important thing out the way. But we do have some topics of conversation. We've got the Gray Report that's coming up next with Monica, and she has our sponsor for the Beyond Swanky podcast season 2. Monica, what are we talking about today?
For today's sponsor, Kennedy, this is something that me and you do both. I might have said that wrong. We do this thing together. It's one of these things that I personally encourage everybody, my ladies and my fellows, to go out and do this, because this is a thing that Kennedy, me and you do together. And it's really been helping us spiritually, and it's helping keeping our health down while we're going to the gym. We also add this into our daily lives as well. And I'm talking about meditation. Now, meditation, I know a lot of people say meditation is not for them, but it is for me. Especially when we're running our companies and we're running our labels and we're ripping and running almost every day. Meditation is one of those things that I tremendously like to do, and it works. It really does work. So I encourage people to go try it out. There are different ways that you can try to meditate, but there's a place you can go for this meditation. And we're talking about Swanky Meditation. Again, Swanky Meditation, our sponsor for the Great Report and the Beyond Swanky podcast episode today. Of course, this is something that you guys can get if you are a Crunch member. Again, we always do this with our sponsors. We always look at our member perks because we are members of Crunch. And you both, Kennedy, again, we always advocate healthy health, mindset healthy, body set healthy, meditation set healthy, eating habits set healthy. We encourage this kind of stuff when it comes down to it. So if you're a Crunch member and you would like to try out Swanky Meditation, it's a place you can go to get effective meditation done. Of course, you can get it 20% off all membership options. Again, that's another membership, but it's a great quality membership because it's helping you meditate and helping you go about your day. 20% off all membership options over at Swanky Meditation. Go check them out. You will not regret it. It's one of those things that it's very, very needed. Now, for the Great Report, we've got to talk about Rick Ross. You see what I did there? Rick Ross is actually one of my favorite rappers because I just love his instrumental parts of his songs. Now, Rick Ross, Buffalo's getting the boss in trouble with neighbors. Get this, Rick Ross has found himself in hot water with his neighbors due to his herd of buffaloes roaming around their property unattended. Now, this report, guys, was coming from TMZ. And the neighbor took pictures of the herd of buffaloes walking throughout the front and backyard of her property. Now, Rick Ross does have this big house. I want to say it's in Fayetteville, Georgia, so down the street from us, from Atlanta. We're not too far from his house. In the video obtained by the outlet, the unidentified woman recorded the entire ordeal. A woman who appears to be his neighbor is shouting "no" at the buffaloes, while a group of men seem to be directing the herd back to Promised Land. That's Rick Ross's estate. If you guys Google it, it comes right up. The Promised Land is in Atlanta, Georgia, Fayetteville to be exact. Haven't rolled by his house, but his house is pretty nice. So get this, guys. Rick Ross' neighbors is afraid that the buffaloes could pose a safety issue between because she has small children, and buffaloes weigh about 2,200 pounds. God damn, that is heavy. That is very, very heavy for some buffaloes. I kind of understand her concern, simply because, those are wild animals. Believe it or not, buffaloes, they're wild animals. They can be tamed, but they're a little bit wild too. So I understand her issue because, and just a little bit, right, guys? Because I mean, obviously, I don't have kids. I don't know what it's like to have kids, but when you're having small children roaming around their property, either playing hide and go seek, or just having a day outside, and a wild animal comes up and just attacks, and then there's a whole nother issue. I'm pretty sure that maybe Rick Ross could talk to her. Maybe she could be a fan of Rick Ross. Maybe Rick Ross can offer some money, right? For damages if there is any, right? Now, the buffaloes are also tearing up her grass on her property. The neighbors tried to settle the hairy situation with Ross in person, but she allegedly got into a verbal altercation with one of Rick Ross's associates. Man, I don't know, that's a sticky case. It is, because I'm sure if I had problems with a celebrity, I wouldn't want to go to the police. I would try to say, hey, this is what's going on. I don't want to get cops involved. I just want to settle this like grown adults without cops. Right? And somebody of Rick Ross' stature, maybe you would have said, okay, let's just give her some money for the damages. Let's just take care of her. No cops are involved, and now this article is not out, right? Now, after the altercation, she reportedly called the Georgia police, but they told her it was a civil dispute and took no further action. It is a civil dispute, though. It is. So Rick Ross spent the majority of 2022 building out his Promised Land Zoo. And there's a quote here, guys. There's a quote. After we are gifting Ross these buffaloes, after the conversation at his birthday party back in January, Burton, I'm guessing that is the person that, it says here is the director of brand operations at Ethica, according to page 6. I'm not sure what Ethica means or what company that is, but Burton told the outlet he wanted to give him a giraffe, but he wasn't ready for that commitment. So he said, let's start smaller, like a cow. And then, of course, they said, no, everyone has cows. I want you to have something no one in your state has. That is true. None of us here in the studio have wild animals. We don't, because they're expensive. I'm getting you a buffalo. So, I don't know. It's very, very interesting for that case. I'm kind of on the woman's side a little bit for this one because, she tried to settle this dispute, like I say, as like adults, right? She didn't want to go to the cops. She didn't want to go have this story out and have TMZ report on it. She wanted to settle this like adults. And maybe, I don't know. I don't know Rick Ross. I don't know his associates, but maybe his associate probably blew it out of proportion, right? There's another option there. So it's very, very interesting. I hope this gets settled very soon. It's one of those things that it does happen in hip hop, and I feel bad for the lady because, when somebody comes to my house and tear up something at my house, then yes, I'm mad because I'm paying for that property, right? So again, that's our great report. There hasn't been any updates since then, but it's very, very interesting. Comment below, guys. If you had a wild animal, would you let it go loose on somebody's property, and how would you handle it? Put it in our forum. We like to hear from you guys.
Miss Gray with the report. Thank you, Monica. Always appreciate it. I don't know. I would lose it. I'm sure. Hey, look. As you said, Monica, Rick Ross, he rich, right? I'm sure he'll be able to pay for damages, no problem, right? But I would have lost my mind too. If somebody came on my house and damaged something, I'm like, hey, you paying for that, right? So again, that's an interesting story. That's an interesting take. But I definitely would have, I don't know, I would have demanded maybe some compensation, but carefully, right? Because it's Rick Ross, right? Now, if it was me and Rick Ross's animal ate a plant, I'd be like, hey, can I get a picture with you? That's all I need. So I can post on social media, say I met you and I know you. That's all I need, right? I'm a huge fan of Rick Ross myself. Now, moving on to our next topic of conversation. James, you wrote this on the board. And everybody has to understand, me and James, and we all three of us here in the studio, we are gamers. Of course, you got this special gaming report. I actually did some gaming last night. GTA 5. And then my brother bought the latest wrestling game, WWE 2K23. Pretty smooth. And I was getting excited to play Wulong Fallen Dynasty because of the updates to see if the game got easy. But the game did not get easy. It's still hard.
Hell yeah, it is. Because I played it too. And I don't know. Like you said it before, Kennedy, and I think I'm right there with you. I don't think I'm a Souls guy. I don't. I struggle with it. I played it. I died so many times. I don't know. I'm right there with you. It's just one of those things that a game that I guess I'm just not dabbling into it. Now, something I am dabbling into, Gamer reveals collection of retro games they received through Serial Box promotions. Again, this report is coming from Game Rant. We'll read the article and then we'll discuss, obviously, but one gamer gets a great surprise after he finds a large collection of old games that he acquired through Serial Box promotions. Now, thanks to old school advertising tactic, of course, one gamer has come across a classic collection games he gained through Serial Box promotions, unearthing a variety of retro titles for those who live through the heyday of sugary cereals. Now, I do. I tell you guys, when I was a kid, Reese's Puff was mine. It was Reese's Puff, Cocoa Puff, Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I'm big onto the chocolate type cereals, Reese's, Cocoa Puffs, and Cookie Crisp, right? And then when the chocolate Lucky Charms came out, then yeah. But as we are in our mid-20s, we can't eat stuff like that anymore. We have to be careful what we put in our bodies. But I remember the heyday of eating sugary cereal and Saturday morning cartoons. I remember. Toys and games promotion found in cereal box were the norm of the time. Through the years, though, companies and developers have found creative and unorthodox ways to promote their games and products. We all seen it on, let's say, for an example, you can get a few XP points for Call of Duty from Doritos. Or if you go to Taco Bell and you can get XP points, or you can enter a chance to win a PlayStation 5 from Taco Bell. Somebody did win that too, by the way. So like the strange soda-themed hero known as Pepsi Man, who was created to promote a Pepsi-inspired video game, these special promotions still continue through food and drink products, but it was far more common in the 90s and early 2000s, which it were, to find surprise gaming products in one cereal box or a collector's item to accompany a fast food order. Like we mentioned, McDonald's had something like this, Burger King, Taco Bell, Subway. A lot of these restaurant chains have dabbled into that. Now it's all about what I've seen when it comes to food order is I've seen it where it's food order, but it's, XP points, right? It's not about gaining those gaming rewards points and winning games. But, as the years go by, it is easy to forget the advertisement like these even exist. But every once in a while, someone happens to unearth a nostalgic reminder of how far gaming has come in the last 2 decades, guys. Now, a Reddit user known as Methus Thomas II, shared a picture of surprising bounty he found that contained a variety of old games he'd collected through buying cereal boxes. Now, the collection of the PC games contains titles like Space Invaders, that's a good one, Missile Command. As the years pass on, it's inedible that some gamers discovered old collections when at least they expect it, but it must serve a great surprise for those lucky enough to come across the great memories. Now, here's a picture. And I know people for the podcast, it's hard for you to see because this is a podcast, but you may not get like the AAA titles from a cereal box necessarily, but you're looking at it. Missile Command, Space Invader is what I see. Lynx LS 1999. Woo-hoo. Beach Soccer, Impossible Golf, Breakout, right? Casino, he won that. Arcade Hit, Atari Arcade Hits. These collections also contain sports titles as well within their bounty, their collection for short. Now, although the days of cereal box game promotions seem to be long gone, big name titles are still promoting through fruits. And for an example, we've got to think about it. Diablo's 4, a recent collaboration with K.L.P, provided a tactic that has simple, just involved over time. Although the methods used to advertise and promote games have changed, it's still fascinating to come across these old reminders, though, of how far gaming has come in the recent years. Many games still have a soft spot for retro games due to its older titles being many gamers' introductory to the wonderful life of gaming and what it can be. Now, I want to pose a question to the forum, to our fan base out there. What was your start? Right? I'm going to go ahead and say my start to gaming was the Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo was my favorite. I had this X-Men game before. I had another Marvel game, and a sports game is when I started out, right? And then after that, over the years, I've got the game. I bought and played the GameCube, and then it went on the PlayStation, and now currently PlayStation 5 for me in my household. So it's very, very interesting with game promotions. Like it is true, it's hard for AAA titles to be on there. I'm sure they're thinking about ways to bring it back to where you can enter a chance to win. Let's say, so the next new game that's ready to come out is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Let's say if Doritos posted something where enter a chance to win a free code for a free copy of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, the latest game that's coming out in April, that's good game promotion in my opinion. But it is cost, because premium games like that now, they're $70, as we mentioned before in our show, is premium. So it's very, very interesting to say the least. It's very good that people that are into gaming remember the old school days of gaming.
Yeah, I feel like gaming for me has been very impactful. Because I remember my first start with gaming was also trying to see, was it a Super Nintendo? I think it was a Super Nintendo and a Sega Genesis. They were hand-me-downs from my brother, because at that point he handed us down one of his Super Nintendos he had and his Sega Genesis, because he was getting the GameCube, right? So over the years we kind of hand me down, and then we've got our own GameCube for Christmas. And that's how gaming kind of started for me. But my first ever video game, it had to been the Super Mario World for Nintendo, and then Sonic the Hedgehog for Sega Genesis. Again, knowing that I know things now, like I sucked at gaming when I was 5, right? Now that I'm 26, a whole 20 years later, 2 decades later, it's I can't say I'm an expert at gaming, guys. That's not what I'm saying, but I've been pretty good at gaming. So it's very, very interesting for sure. Now we've got to switch gears, ladies and gentlemen. Because in every episode, the Beyond Swanky podcast, we like to tell you about the news, but sometimes we like to get a little juicy. We like to get a little bit more swanky when it comes to our shows. Now, I wanted to talk about this topic of conversation. Now, this is kind of an open-ended question to both you, James, and Monica, but also to our fan base out there as well, because I'm very interested about this topic for sure. Now, for all of my kiddos that are listening, I suggest that you maybe listen. If you're of age, you might know, right? Because let's be honest, I wouldn't advocate this, but people young as 18, they're having sex. So this is appropriate, but I'm always going to say, hey, if you're having sex and you're at the age of 18, honestly, I got to think that you're a little bit too young. But safe sex is the best sex. Now, the open-ended question for today's podcast, the Beyond Swanky podcast, Season 2, March 20th. Are unemployed men better in bed? And I wanted to go ahead and give my take on this because this is a very interesting topic of conversation. Again, the question is, are unemployed men better in bed? Here's my take. I have to say, us men, from my perspective, guys, by the way, before I put that out there, but this is my opinion about myself a little bit. It's not factually true. It's just an opinion before people hit them comments like, oh, you're wrong. First off, I like to be employed, right? I am both employed and self-employed, if that makes sense. We run our media labels, but we also work under an institution, which I'm not going to name their name of this institution. You guys know why. We do both in what we do. So for me, I prefer, number one, to be employed. I feel that some women, and Monica, I know, you gonna jump in, right? And you might agree. I don't know. I, number one, prefer to be employed. And I've seen it to where some women, maybe us Gen Zers, maybe, I don't know, it's just an opinion, we prefer our men to bring in the money. Right? I feel if you're working hard at something, whether if you're working, and I don't judge, whatever you do as a profession, we don't judge on our show. Whether you work at a warehouse or you flipping burgers at Burger King, damn it, you have a job. Because, number one, I got to say, it is hard to find jobs right now. In today's economy, it's hard. Very, very hard to find the job you want and expect to get paid right. It's hard right now. I feel that when you are working, you're working hard on something, and this is two examples that I'm gonna make, guys. Let's say this man works at a warehouse, right? You're moving boxes or warehousing, moving a lot if you're a cop or if you deliver, right? If a job that requires a lot of kinetic energy, a lot of moving around, you have this strength, right? Trust me. Monica, remember, we worked for Amazon. It was a horrible delivery. We did delivery and logistics. It was so horrible. I wouldn't recommend that for anybody because it's a very horrible job to do. But we're moving a lot and your strength goes up. You're swole because you've been moving boxes. You're moving heavy shit around. Yeah, you got the energy. So when you come home and let's say your significant other wants to get it in, now you got the energy to, because you're so strong, you got so much of that energy, you ready to get it in. But there's a part two to that, right? Because you're getting it in, or you come home from a long, tired ass day, your boo say, hey, I want to get something tonight, but you be like, baby, I'm tired. I got no energy. I'm pooped from work. I'm wore the hell out. I ain't doing that. Right? It's just one of those things. It does happen. Now, I've seen this, and maybe I've seen this in movies and shows too, but there's a way, my ladies and my men, if you men liking men, hey, we don't judge on our show. But if you have a significant other that you know that they're working hard on their job, work too damn hard if you ask me, and you know they're going to come home and not be up to the task, not have the energy, well, hell, you got to please them. You got to massage their neck, their back, their arms, their legs, right? Get them right. Or make them some food. Either make them some food or go get them some food. So when they come home, hey, I have food. You want to eat? Because there's an agenda there. Right? If I'm cooking dinner, this is how I would do it. If, let's say, and this can kind of go vice versa with the question, guys, but I know we were talking about is unemployed men better. Let's say if the ladies are at home cooking, right? And this kind of old tradition. I don't really believe in old tradition, but we'll use that example. Let's say if she's bought him some food. Maybe it's Chipotle, Zaxby's, whatever it is. He come home. There's food. He's gonna eat, and then his mind's like, I'm gonna have dessert later. I'm gonna be in that ass later because you bought me some food and you were thinking about me. I'm about to tear that ass up. Right? There's ways you can do about it. To answer the question, though, number one, I like to be employed because it's hard to be unemployed. I feel like a lot of unemployed men would have so much time on their hands, and that's good to have time. And this is just my opinion, guys, before I get roasted. I feel like, for me, I wouldn't want to be slumping at home while she's out there working. I wouldn't, right? If I know, for an example, if I know Monica's out there working, I know that if I have time, I better be off. Because we do have off days. I employ everybody here at K.L.P Entertainment to take days off when they need it. I take a day off, right? But if she's out there working, I better have the free time because it's an off day. We're scheduled to be off. I wouldn't want to be some lazy ass bum that don't have a job, don't have nothing going, and I'm slumping around playing video games all day, every day. I wouldn't want that. Because it shows that you ain't got no money coming in, and now she's bringing in all the dough, and you just playing video games and sitting on your ass all day. Right? Some women, and I've read the comments of this topic, and I've been listening to the Breakfast Club too. Some people say, hey, having an unemployed man, yeah, he's better in bed. What? When I saw that comment, Monica, I was like, what? Really? You really gonna sit there, play video games all day? And I don't know, everybody's situation is different though, right? Because he might be unemployed because of their situation. Let's say if both of them had kids, right? And he's quote unquote a stay-at-home dad. Honestly, I don't believe in a stay-at-home dad or a stay-at-home mama. They both got to work, in my opinion. That's so weird. But that's another topic. That's another conversation. But let's say if he's a stay-at-home dad, no job, but his job is to take care of the house and the kids. That's it. Maybe he'll have that free time, but how good would that be in bed? Because, again, like I said at the beginning of the topic, it could be vice versa, right? Let's say if he's unemployed, right? He's a stay-at-home dad taking care of the house and the kids. Now she's coming home from her big job. She's tired. She's wore out. She don't want any. She just want to eat something and slide her ass to bed is what she wants to slide into. Right? So it can be, I don't know, it can be that kind of, it's different. To my point, I would want, first, I'd love to be employed. I feel that I would argue that men who are employed might be the better ones in bed. I feel. Because you're at home. You're at work. Like I said, if you're working logistics, warehousing, a lot of kinetic energy, delivery, what else is a task? A trainer, right? If you're moving a lot, yeah, you have boosted energy, right? I also feel that if you're moving a lot when it comes to work, you stay in better shape. I feel that if men who are unemployed, and this is just another example, guys, men who are unemployed sit on their ass all day and play video games, don't go to the gym, maybe they do, but let's say if they don't, they're at home, because you got nothing to do. Now you're gaining weight, right? You're gaining weight, and let's say she comes home and she wants to get it in, and she may not be attracted to you anymore because you're not moving kinetic energy. You're not moving around at work. You're not going to the gym. You're just staying at home. Yeah, you're gaining weight that way, and maybe she don't want that. I had a lot of guys ask me about, wanting to have kids and wanting to do this to their wives and girlfriends, and I often ask, hey, maybe it's you. Maybe it's you need to lose weight. Because I'm going to say it freely on the show. No girl or your significant other, no person wants somebody who's not in shape. I don't. Like, I hope to meet, and we, me and Monica, we both fitness guys and gals, because fitness is everything, number one. And you have the energy. You're in shape. You look sexy. You look good. Nobody wants some old fat fucker who slumps around and play video game and has a gut, and then they try to go in and have sex. It's like flop. Some women ain't into that. Some dudes ain't into that. Like, if you a dude that's seeking another dude, that dude don't want his man to have a gut. That dude want his man to look cut, have abs, look sexy. That's what dudes want on dudes. With me, with my girl, thank God, Monica, she in shape now. She in shape. That's where I feel that men who are employed might be the better chance of better sex in bed, because they're in shape and they're working out their stress. For me, and I guess we're getting a little gross, I'm sorry, but for me, I'm employed, I'm stressed about work, I'm coming home, I'm working that stress out. I'm so working that stressed out, because once you get it in, right, you're working the stress in meetings and quotes and daily quotas and your goals for the quarter. That's all that paperwork stress from work. You getting it in, you having sex, you working the shit out of that, right, to where it tires you out, so that way you're not thinking about work, right? You thinking about getting it in. Right? There's a quote in there. I wanted to quote real quick. Leonardo DiCaprio is like, yeah, we're getting it in. Oh, when I have sex, all I think about is money. So that's my opinion. Monica, what's your thoughts, honey?
Ooh, I'm about to piss some women off. All right. Ladies. Lady to lady. Ooh, I'm so nervous. I hope I don't get canceled. Now, if it was me, I would want my man to have a job. I have to say that I'm on Kennedy's side when it comes down to this. Because, based off experience, I've had relationships before where I would come home, my dude, right in front of a video game. Nothing to do, nothing that inspires him to go get a job or to go work on something, whatever it is. And I felt, now this is from my ladies, now this is, like Kennedy said in his part, this is also my opinion. It's not true. But I also feel I dated some men where they were in front of a video game and they're not inspired to make money, number one. They're not inspired to do things for themselves. And I would come home tired as a dog, and I felt that I wasn't attracted to a man that didn't have dreams. Because there's nothing wrong with having dreams. Now, a lot of dudes would tell me, oh, it's my dream to do this and this and this. I want to do this. This is a dream for mine. And I understand that. I'm not harping on my fellas that have dreams, because we all have dreams. But again, I dated dudes where they needed to have something coming in, and I was the quote-unquote breadwinner. And sometimes there's nothing wrong with that. Now, what Kennedy said, we're all a little bit of Gen Zers, right? We believe in new tradition. I am not about to be cooking and cleaning for a man. I honestly think that's 50-50, right? Kennedy might have said on his show, me and him both were 50-50. We 50-50 with everything, because to us that's a better relationship. Now with our relationship, again, we're giving our business out there, we're 50-50, but we're kind of in an open relationship, right? That's kind of the scenario that we're in. We're comfortable with that. So I don't believe in old tradition. I don't believe that, let's say, if a man's out there working hard, yes, I'm gonna get him something to eat, but I'm not about to be his slave. That's just that's the bag we in today's society. That's the generation that we in. I'm not about to be slaving away for him, but I'll make sure he fed and taken care of for sure. 50-50. But back to my story. I've, again, dated a man who wasn't inspired. I wasn't attracted to men who are not inspired to go and do their own thing. Work. Finding something to do. Mine is just playing video games, slumping at my house every night, in my bed, not bringing in any money. I'm out there working my ass off, and there's no spark there. He's, what Kennedy said, a lazy bum. And I'm not, to me personally, I'm not attracted to anybody who is lazy. I'm not. I need my man to go to work. I need him to make some money. I need him to be a man. Right? So when I would come home, we would slump around, and he's out there playing video games. I'm not there working. Now I'm not attracted to that. Now when we have sex, he's not giving what I need. He's not. He's very uninspired with it. There's no passion. There's no strongness there. Because let me tell you, ladies out there, lady to lady, we like a man to go down and he giving it his all. Not trying to get too gross on our show. I like my man to tear that ass up. Because when I come home, I know what I'm coming home to. Right? So, to answer that question, I feel, and I'm agreeing with Kennedy on this one, I like my employed, whether you're employed or self-employed. You come home, you bringing it in, and it's out there. Right? He's bringing it in, he's getting it in, and boy, Kennedy, I ain't gonna go there, Kennedy, about what we do in the bed. We ain't about to go there. But let's just say if he brings it in, he's working out his stress, because he's a little stressed at work sometimes. I get it. He calls me stressed out. He's stressed. He's working that stress out at night. Right? And we're not getting nasty. You getting it in, and you look at your dude and like, wow, why the fuck? Like, is he mad? Like, like, is he upset? Like, is it something I did? Like, is it something at work that he just want to talk about? Like, he's acting kind of crazy right now, in a good way. So, yes, to answer that question, yes, I like my men to be employed. Well, the men who are employed, I feel, in our opinion, men who are employed give the best sex. They do, in my opinion. But I also asked a couple of girlfriends last night and this morning, because I knew we were going to talk about it on the radio today, that some of my girlfriends, I'm not going to name their names because I don't want to put them on blast, but some of my girlfriends prefer their men who are unemployed and feel like they give the best sex. I have one of my friends, again, I will not put her name on blast on the radio, but what I'm about to say, and I cleared it with her too, Kennedy and James, before talking about it. I asked her. She said, yeah, she said, I've dated men who are unemployed, and men who are unemployed give the best sex. And I asked her, okay, what type of men are these? And she's not a sugar mama per se, but she like him just a tad bit young. If you get my drift. So she dated a guy that was a little bit younger than her. And of course, not about, she's not a pedophile. That's not what I'm saying. But, he was in between jobs. So he just got laid off. This was in 2020. This is what she told me. It was in 2020. He just got laid off because of COVID. So he was in between jobs and he was young. So when he was in between jobs, again, 2020, he of age. So she's not a pedophile. So he was of age. But he got laid off in 2020. He was in between jobs. And she, quote unquote, took care of him. And while he was unemployed, he was sad about it. But now he had so much time on his hands, right? And she told me, yeah, he gave the best. The best. So my answer, I prefer my man to be employed while he's going down.
I feel like for me, though, I've always been employed somewhere. So I'll answer the question, but I haven't had a period where I was unemployed. But to Kennedy's point, it is true when we work on things every day, whether it's our SNN or our films, or if I'm writing. For me, though, and this might sound, I don't think this is weird, but what I do when I'm going down on my girl, after we're done, after we're finished, we lay there for a minute because I'm wore out and I'm tired. So I'm not moving a whole bunch, but we sit there and we talk, right? And I do have to ask her about this, but we sit there and we talk. And we talk about just random shit. It'd be the most random conversations that we would just have in bed after we're finished, because like we're both exhausted, but we want to talk some more. So I kind of turned that into a special moment, like a hangout moment, or a getting to know moment, or spending some time kind of moment, where we're sitting there, we're finished having sex, and then we're talking and we're talking and we're talking. And then that's when I kind of get inspired, because as I mentioned, I'm a writer. So we're writing things right here in the business. So when we're writing, whether it's an article or a script, or it's if I'm writing a script or a note for Addison or Arthur with their report, that's how I get inspired to write their column, the articles, what they're going to say in the news, because of that night after I'm just getting done, having sex. So short answer to that, I've never experienced unemployment. So I don't think my girl would ever experience, better sex for me, because I've always been employed. To everybody's point, I prefer to be employed, because I don't want to be a bum dude myself. I don't want to be playing my PlayStation at home. And I know me and my girl, we both work hard at our jobs, So it's a very interesting dynamic that some women prefer men who are unemployed, and they say that they have the better sex with the men that are unemployed. It is true that they possibly have a lot of time on their hands. I do understand the point of being a stay-at-home parent, because from my perspective, I have a lot of friends who have kids, and one of their partners, they stay at home, they take care of the kids, because it is a full-time job with that. You're dealing with a lot, right? Especially some of my friends that have pre-teenagers, like kids who are like 10, well, let's say 12 to about 14. They're trying to experience life. They're trying to understand some things. One of my friends has a daughter, and she has to go to him in per se to understand about the female body versus going to their mother. So it's interesting. It's a very interesting dynamic when it comes down to that. But I always been employed, so I've never, I never really experienced a different way of being unemployed and having sex with my significant other. But after that, it does lead to a great conversation at night. When you're finished, we're randomly talking about just crazy shit, just randomness of all randomness. And then sometimes we laugh at each other because we like, okay, what are we talking about? Because we sound kind of high when we're talking about these conversations. But it's very interesting. I do want to propose a question to the forum, though, and I think we might have mentioned that. Would you prefer somebody that has unemployment on their name? Do you prefer them that they have better sex, or would you prefer somebody who is fully employed?
So, like I say, ladies and gentlemen, we all shared our opinions, so comment below in our forum for sure. This is an opinionated piece. It's not factual fact. So we get a lot of comments, and a lot of people want to be politically correct and all of that jazz. We're not into that kind of business. But comment below. We want to hear from you guys. Do you think a man who is unemployed, are they better in bed? We want to hear from you guys as well. So that's going to wrap it up here on our radio show this morning. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. It's the Beyond Swanky podcast, season 2. James, Monica, as always, I greatly appreciate you two coming in the show. Give me all y'all's opinions. Give me your report. Give me all of it. We love it. We love it. Our fan base love it. You guys love this new direction. So we thank our fan base because, like Monica said, we up. Numbers been up for sure. So again, if you like this show this morning, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching the video version. And don't forget to hit that bell notification, letting you guys know that we were live from Swanky Studios to give y'all another exciting episode. And if you're listening to all of our audio platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher Podcast, Audacity, TuneIn Radio, Apple Podcasts, and so much more. Share with your friends. Again, letting you guys know we're again live here on our radio shows for our audio platforms. As always, from our entire cast and crew, the Beyond Swanky podcast season 2, I've been your main host, K.L.P. Kennedy Lucas. As always, I like to say stay safe, stay swanky. Peace.
You are now tuned in to Atlanta's hottest radio show.
Our stories from our studio to your ear. It's the Beyond Swanky podcast.
With your host, Kennedy Lucas. On Swanky 93.3 radio station. The Heat 94.6 radio station.
The latest show goes after hours. The Beyond Swanky podcast with Kennedy Lucas brings out more for our Lucas Nation fans. Tune in for reviews, topics, and even special guests. We go beyond the swankiness as it's juicy as hell with our DJ Lou Pezzi, playing nothing but the hits on the Spotify podcast version. Live from our studio of Swanky Studios, it's the Beyond Swanky podcast with Kennedy Lucas on Atlanta's #1 stations, Swanky 93.3 and the Heat 94.6 radio station. Listen on all major audio platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audacity, Apple Podcast, Stitcher Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube, and more. Atlanta's #1 radio stations, Swanky 93.3 and the Heat 94.6 radio stations, has you covered. From our studios to our newsroom at K.L.P. Entertainment. Listen on all major audio platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audacity, Apple Podcast, Stitcher Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube, and more.